The head of Squanto, a Bible from 1592, 10,000-year-old arrowheads, and whatever the heck this is, all that and more, right now. Today we're headed to the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, to visit the oldest continuously operated public museum in the United States, the Pilgrim Hall Museum, which opened its doors in the year 1824. This little museum houses all sorts of artifacts that came over on the Mayflower with the Pilgrims in the year 1620, as well as many artifacts from the Native Americans. Those date back thousands of years. Let's take a look. The year is 1620. Across the pond, over in Plymouth, England, a group of 120 passengers prepared aboard a merchant vessel for a brave pilgrimage to a new land. This was no luxury cruise, mind you. All of the passengers were crammed into the gun deck, a room only about 18 by 24 feet. The conditions were dark, dingy, and quite dangerous. Stormy conditions, seasickness, disease, death. It was going to take quite the amount of faith and fortitude to survive a voyage as ambitious as this. Months later, however, they arrived, and after a brutal and deadly first winter, and with some help from the local native people, they eventually thrived. They were merchants, craftsmen, farmers, and servants, a group of men and women hand-selected for their variety of skills and knowledge. So too were the items they packed with them. A list was made of what every man, woman, and child would need to survive for a 1-year period. A provisions list, likely passed on from earlier settlers of Virginia. Each passenger was allowed only a few select personal items. Some of those are displayed right here in this museum. Up first, we have a 6-board chest that came over on the Mayflower with passenger William Brewster. It was made in Holland using Norwegian pine. At the time, the Pilgrims lived in Holland, and pine from Norway was plentiful as a result of extensive trade between the two countries. A chest was the single most important piece of furniture colonists could bring. It could be used not only for storage, but also as a table surface, seat, or even a bed. The dark reddish-brown paint is probably original. Iron straps reinforce the chest, and it has inside hinges, typical of the era. Now let's check out these books. This here is the King James Bible from 1620, printed in London, England. Wow. Such good condition. A Justification of Separation, 1610, from the Netherlands. This one appears to have handwritten notes on the side. Interesting. The Geneva Bible. This one is from 1592 in London. And here's a scale model of the Mayflower ship. Now they actually have a life-size model, the Mayflower 2, right here in Plymouth, and you can actually do a tour of it. So one day I'm going to do so and make a video for you guys. Look out for that as well. Now this display case had all sorts of cool weapons and personal items. Up first, this trooper's pistol from 1600 to 1650, England. It's made of steel, iron, brass, and fruit wood. What a cool looking design. Here's a baby carriage and a cast iron cooking pot. In the middle here, a mortar and pestle, and then a wooden plate. These are pipe fragments made of clay in the Netherlands, 1600 to 1625. In the wooden plate we saw, 1650 to 1750, made right here in Massachusetts. And here we see the best of all, a beer mug. A brown tankard, 1610 to 1650, the Baltic region this is from. Tankards of this sort were made by the thousands in the Baltic area, Finland, Russia, Latvia, Estonia. The tankard is built like a barrel, with oak staves circled by birch hoops. It would have held beer, the common beverage of the 17th century Englishman. The Allerton Cushman cup from 1608, made in England. This small walnut cup was first turned on a lathe and then embellished with symbols and a verse. The date 1608 is carved on the bottom. This sword dates from the late 1500s and was a gift from Ichabod Shaw to the Massachusetts Historical Society in 1795, and it's been on loan to this museum since 1911. It's made of steel, iron, silver, and wood. And here we see a halberd. This is from the early 1600s, England, and was made of wrought iron. This weapon has ties to John Alden, who was a crew member aboard the Mayflower. He was scheduled to return with the ship. However, he ended up staying with the Pilgrims here in America after marrying a fellow Mayflower passenger named Priscilla. Sadly, all of Priscilla's family members who came with her on the Mayflower died that very first winter. In fact, of the 120 passengers, only half of them survived. This here is a matchlock musket from the early 1500s to the late 1600s. This piece was actually bought by the museum in the 1950s. What an amazing piece of history. You can really see its age on the end here. And here we see some armor. Now, I didn't notice this until I was actually making the video, but it looks like it's been hit by a musket ball because you see a dent there. And a helmet. These are both made of steel, and they come from England. This cannon is similar to the one that would have been on the Mayflower. It was gifted to the town of Plymouth in the 1920s and used to sit atop Old Burial Hill, which is a cemetery just behind us where many of the original pilgrims have been laid to rest. I did a video of that on my channel as well. Don't forget to check it out after this. It's an amazing little cemetery with lots of history. Here's another sword with the scabbard. This is from the early 1600s as well. This one was made in Germany. It's made of steel, wood, wrought iron, and leather. What a beautiful piece. I would love to take that off the wall and hold it in my hand. Wow. This display has many tools from the Pilgrims. Up top, looks like a scale. Here we have a hammer, a nail, a handsaw with a little sheath that goes with it. Here you can see from the Plymouth plantation, this is what the original Pilgrims' homes would have looked like. And these are the tools they would have built it with. I'm not sure what this is, some type of lockbox. But it also looks like an axe head. I don't know. Is that a cow's bell? An axe head? This item is for separating the fibers of the flax plant, used to make linen. There's a date on it, 1645. They got a little Q&A here for us. How fast did they go? How many miles did they travel? I don't know, 4,000? 3,340 miles from Plymouth to Plymouth. How long did the trip take? 66 days. I know that from my previous videos. So I actually learned something from making these, I guess. It's a good thing. How fast did the Mayflower go? I have no idea. 2.1 miles per hour. Wow, that's really slow. Why did it take so long? They zigged, they zagged, they stopped, they started. They didn't travel in a straight line. 66 days. That's a long time aboard a ship without modern amenities. And now here we are at the Native American Indian display. This here is a replica of a wigwam, or a wetu, as the Wampanoag people would call it. There's a museum of the Wampanoag people in Mashpee, Massachusetts, on Cape Cod. They have an actual wetu that you can go inside. It's really amazing. I made a video of that as well, if you'd like to check it out on my channel. The native people of the area were seasonal. They spent the summers on the coast, where they could fish and harvest plants. The winters were spent under the cover of the New England forest, where they would hunt for their food. The local indigenous people were referred to as the people of the first light, as they were located on the east coast, where the sun would rise, thus offering the first light. Now let's take a look at some of these Native American artifacts. This point would be used for an arrow or a spear. This was found right here in Plymouth, Mass. It's a couple thousand years old, from the Middle Woodland period. You can still see the chip marks from where they carved it out. Here's a gouge found right here in Carver, Mass. That's not far from Plymouth. It's a pretty big item. This is 1,000 years old. Again, the Middle Woodland period. Man, these are so cool. These points are 8 to 10,000 years old, from the early Archaic period. You can see they look much more delicate, much more aged. Wow. What's this? A stone addle weight? 6,000 to 3,700 years before present. Again, the late Archaic period. A flint knife. This again is from Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's hard to see through the glass. Oh, there we go. Here we see some pottery fragments. These are a couple thousand years old, from the Middle Woodland period. This looks like maybe a fishing sinker of some type. It's hard to see with the reflection in the glass. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the best shot I can. This is a soapstone pipe. Now, if you can imagine a long wooden pipe coming off the end of that, like you see in the movies. I guess that's what that is. A pendant. Again, found in Plymouth. That's a beauty there. Axe or celt from 6,000 years to 3,000 years ago. Now, I've never found any Native American arrowheads myself, but I know people who have. So this summer, I'm going to spend some time walking around the edges of all these lakes here on Cape Cod, and hopefully I can find some myself. Here's another really interesting display of Native American artifacts. In the upper right corner, some type of sledgehammer of wood and stone. In the middle, a beaver skin cap. The natives of the area did extensive trading of beaver skin with the white man, especially to England and France. Here we see a bottle made of a gourd. This here is a really large weight of some kind, believed to maybe be used as a canoe anchor. Later, the colonists would have used this to grind grain. Here we see some more personal items from the Pilgrims. Some dishes. Here we see a flask. And some furniture. Now, I believe this was built later. After the Pilgrims had settled, they had a lot more time and resources to make bigger, better, nicer furniture and things of such. There was also a number of ships that came after the Mayflower in 1620, bringing more people and more supplies. Up here on the second floor is mostly depictions of a whitewashed textbook version of the Pilgrims, one that you would learn about in school, with the funny buckles on their hats and shoes. One item of interest is this head of Squanto. Originally, just above the museum's entrance, there was a wooden sculpture of the Native Americans meeting the Pilgrims. However, that statue has been destroyed, and this head of Squanto is all that remains. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. If so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Once again, thanks for watching.